Welcome to a world where the Nile River was the source of life, and magnificent pyramids rose toward the skies, like bridges to eternity. Ancient Egypt is one of the most mysterious and influential civilizations in human history. This culture, which lasted over 3,000 years, left an enormous mark on world history. Pharaohs, the godlike rulers, built massive temples and tombs, leaving countless artifacts and mysteries for future generations. Today, we embark on a journey through time and space to understand how this great civilization was born and developed. In this video, we'll discover how the deified Nile River, powerful natural barriers, and the first settlers contributed to the creation of one of the greatest states of antiquity. What was the journey that led to the construction of the Great Pyramids and the development of a magnificent culture? Stay with us to find out. The Nile River is not just a body of water, it is the foundation of the entire Egyptian civilization. The Nile flows through the desert, transforming the surrounding lands into a fertile oasis where agriculture could thrive. The annual floods of the Nile brought fertile silt to the fields, allowing the Egyptians to harvest bountiful crops. These rich lands, unlike the surrounding deserts, became a place where people could settle and develop a complex society. Without the Nile, there would be no wheat, no vegetables, no abundance that made Egypt a great power. The surrounding deserts served as natural barriers against enemies, making the country virtually impregnable. At the same time, they isolated Egypt, helping to preserve its unique cultural features. These natural conditions created a world where Egyptians could focus on developing their civilization without being constantly distracted by wars with neighbors. The first people to settle along the Nile were nomadic tribes searching for stable sources of water and food. Gradually, they learned to harness the advantages of the river's flooding and transition from hunting and gathering to settled agriculture. This was a crucial step toward creating the first permanent settlements. As the population grew and agriculture developed, small settlements began to transform into larger villages and eventually into cities. In these cities, the first elements of social structure appeared: chiefs, priests, and craftsmen. It was during this period that the foundations of ancient Egyptian culture and social organization were laid. The legend of Pharaoh Menes, who united Upper and Lower Egypt, is one of the most famous in Egyptian mythology. According to the legend, Menes, the ruler of Upper Egypt, defeated his enemies in the north and became the first pharaoh of a unified Egypt. He founded a new capital in Memphis, symbolizing the beginning of a new era. However, historical evidence suggests that the unification process was much more complex. The unification occurred gradually, through a series of wars and diplomatic alliances. Upper Egypt, with its warrior traditions, dominated the more peaceful and prosperous Lower Egypt. The unification of the two kingdoms was a turning point in history, laying the foundation for a centralized state and the beginning of the pharaonic era. Religion played a key role in the lives of the Egyptians. The belief in the afterlife and the power of the gods influenced all aspects of life, from architecture to daily rituals. The pyramids, the majestic tombs of the pharaohs, served not only as places of burial but also as symbols of power and the connection between the pharaoh and the gods. Priests, wielding enormous influence, controlled a significant portion of the wealth and land, further strengthening their power. The invention of hieroglyphs was a revolutionary achievement that allowed the Egyptians to record history, religious texts, and manage administrative affairs. As writing developed, education became available mainly to the nobility and priests. This knowledge was passed down from generation to generation, contributing to the prosperity of civilization and the development of culture. Pharaohs were considered living gods on earth. Their power was absolute and divine. They ruled the country, defended it from enemies, and ensured the prosperity of the people. The pharaoh not only dealt with earthly matters but also performed religious duties, being the chief priest of the state. By maintaining close ties with the gods, he ensured the stability and order necessary for the nation's prosperity. Ancient Egyptian society was strictly hierarchical. At the top of the social pyramid was the pharaoh, followed by the nobility and priests, who possessed vast wealth and power. Next were the craftsmen and merchants, who drove the country's economy. The majority of the population were peasants who worked the fields, and slaves who performed hard physical labor. This clear social structure provided the stability and order needed for the state's prosperity. Ancient Egypt left behind a vast legacy that continues to amaze and inspire us to this day. Architectural masterpieces such as the pyramids and temples, achievements in science and medicine, writing, and art, all of these became the foundation for many subsequent civilizations. The ancient Egyptian culture influenced Greek and Roman civilizations, and through them, the entire world. Our journey through Egypt's history is just beginning, and in future videos, we will continue to explore the mysteries and achievements of this great culture.